Unlock your dream property with Meeks Realty Group, where Rich the Realtor makes real estate dreams a reality. Whether it's residential or commercial, we've got Charleston to Huntington covered. Your key to exceptional real estate experiences start here. Meeks Realty Group. Contact us at meeks.us.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 580 WCHS, its employees, or WVRC Media. From the studios of WVRC Media, the country, the United States of America, the state, West Virginia, the city, Charleston. This is the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live. And your host.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
He's kind of a big deal.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Dave Allen.
Hey, folks, good Tuesday morning to you. Welcome to the show. Senior producer Ryan Nicholson in charge of things on the other side of the glass this morning. Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live comes to you from the Jared Construction Studios. Right on time, right on budget. Visit jared-construction.com. Phone calls to the show, a service of Bigly, Piggly, Wiggly on Spring Street. Texting services provided by West Virginia's finest men's store, Tony the Taylor, Virginia Street, Charleston. Visit bestmastertailor.com. Welcome to the show. Coming up a little bit later on, the boys are back at the Capitol again. TJ and Mr. Wilson will go live to the Capitol as we close out the show, as we get into the final hours, final days of the 2025 legislative session. Things gavel out at midnight on Saturday night / Sunday morning, and we'll talk to Meadows and Wilson about that to see what's going on. An interesting day yesterday at the legislature. But I want to welcome to the show now, to the Jared Construction Studios this morning, former Charleston Mayor Danny Jones. How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, thank you, and I want to compliment you and the company on these beautiful studios. Most people that are listening to us will never see them, but it's just really, really first class. I feel like I'm sitting in a big city somewhere.
It is. It's they did well. They did well.
They did real well.
And we are going to start to introduce more camera stuff. So I still don't know what the status of this show is. Originally, they were going to put it on camera. Then they said they weren't going to put it on camera. I do know that that our show in the afternoon, Metro News Midday, at least the last hour, will be on camera. Hotline, morning news, it's all going to be on. So people will get to see it at some point.
So if you all have cameras here, that means I might be on TV.
Yeah, because you've never been on TV before. You're kind of shy. How you doing, man? You looking well?
Well,
got the beard growing out a little bit there this morning.
Well, you got to remember now, I had a beard in the 70s and 80s. I had one for 8 years, and the only reason I shaved it was to run for sheriff. And now beards are really in fashion. It's which is okay with me.
There was a time with police officers when they had to be completely clean shaven, no tattoos, no visible tattoos, and I'd say now, and I'm not for it or against it, I'm just saying it just changed. Now there's probably more police officers that have tattoos and beards than don't at this point.
If I was still there wouldn't be a visible tattoo.
No visible tattoos for you?
But beards are okay as long as they're fairly close to your face. In 71, when I was in the Marine Corps, they got a new commandant of the Navy. The guy in charge of the Navy was a guy named Elmo Zumwalt. And Zumwalt was the one that says these restrictions are petty, and he let them start growing beards and doing all kinds of stuff. And it didn't last long.
Well, there were some businesses. I know there was and I won't mention the name, there's a particular car dealership that I used to do when I was in Logan. I did a lot of live broadcasts from, and they had a specific policy. And this was only 15, 20 years ago, that none of their staff could have visible tattoos, and that went for the men or the women. And so you get these guys that had these sleeve tattoos, and some women that had them, had to keep them completely covered.
Yeah. And, I don't know if people I don't have any tattoos, and I don't know if people that do that, when they're very young, regret it later.
Yeah.
When I was on Okinawa, I almost did it.
Really?
I was going to, like the Marine Corps Bulldog or something, but I didn't, and I'm glad I did.
What stopped you?
I sobered up.
That's a good answer. I have never even considered it because I'm not a big fan of needles, Danny. And I think I'd be the guy that had like the beginnings of a tattoo, but got up after 5 minutes and said, I'm out. And so that's what I would do. So what keeps you busy these days? I mean, you don't have the restaurant anymore. You closed. We were telling stories upstairs about the good old days of the restaurant. But what is it that keeps Danny Jones busy these days?
I have two sons that kind of keep me melted. I mean, I think Jarrett's been accepted and maybe going to VMI next year. And Andrew is a junior, but he goes to West Virginia State. And I don't know why. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, that's been common for a couple of years. People can
I
get
just
college
pick him up and take him.
What's he? Any idea what he wants to do when he graduates?
Well, they're both talking about being engineers. So I don't. Jarrett has been talking about it for a long time, and I think the military might play a heavy part in his future. And
now, how do you feel about that as a veteran?
Oh, I like it.
How do you feel about it?
Oh, I like it.
Because there's two schools of thought on that, Danny. There's some folks that have served in the military that said, my son or daughter will never serve there. Then there's others that say, absolutely, I want them to serve there.
You know, I remember in 1970, in the summer of 70, when I got on the plane up at Kanawha Airport. That's when you could walk out on the tarmac. They'd open the fence, and you'd walk to the plane and walk up the steps and turn around and wave at everybody. And I was going overseas, and I was going to be gone a year. And I didn't know why. There was about 15 people there to see me off, and I didn't get why some of them were upset. And I get it now. But I thought I was invincible, but I didn't know if I was going to Vietnam or Okinawa.
Don't most people at that age, especially guys, think they're invincible at that age?
Yeah, I mean I didn't. First thing, I went to both. So I went to Okinawa for 5 months, and then I went to Vietnam for 5 months. And I came home a little too early to get an early out. So, but I liked it overseas, and the harder you work, the faster the time goes by. And in Vietnam, that's all you did was work. I mean,
what did you do in Vietnam?
I drove a truck, and I was stationed in Da Nang, and Da Nang was called Rocket City. So when the rockets were flying, it could get a little weird. But most of the time, the rockets weren't flying. So it was just a regular duty station, and you worked 10 to 12-hour shifts, which meant you worked, you went to sleep, you worked, you went to sleep, and I really liked it. And I mean, because it was so casual. Buy a pack of cigarettes for 15 cents. I mean, come on now. I mean, it was.
It almost sounds like MASH in the way that you described it. That was the Korean War, but I mean,
very similar. Except we had huts that were made of wood and screen windows and tin roofs, and I remember we had 7 people living in my hooch, and the petitions were made by footlockers. I mean, not footlockers, but tall lockers. You know, you can make a wall out of those. Yeah. So that's what separated us, and all you just worked hard, and then you got the pleasure sometimes of having duty to grab the barrels out from under the where people went to the bathroom, and you put a lid on them, and you take them out in the middle of the grass. You know, they're full of kerosene and everything else gaseous, and you set them on fire.
Interesting. That probably gave you good experience for politics, right?
Yeah. That's what you call burn the Essers. Okay.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you part by Morgan & Morgan. If you're injured, hire Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. All right. So I want to ask you, and you and I talked a little bit earlier, you said that you haven't really been keeping up a lot with the legislative session, but, there are 2 camps here, Danny. There are those who think that this session has been absolutely incredible, and those who think, and surprisingly, many of them are Republicans, that this session hasn't accomplished much.
I don't think they have enough to do up there.
Explain that. They don't have enough to do.
Well, I mean, the kind of bills that I hear through this radio station, quite frankly, they're all into the social settings and stuff. That means they don't have enough to do. When I went up there, I don't know. Vernon Criss says one thing, the governor says another thing.
But there's a divide between the governor. I talked to a state senator who shall remain nameless last night. He didn't have very, very complimentary things to say about Governor Morrissey. Not just one guy's opinion.
Well, for where I'm sitting, he seems like he's doing okay.
Well, he's actually there.
Yeah, and I don't know if he goes down and hangs out with them or if he ever goes to the well. I mean, if I had that job, I'd be down at the well a lot. You know, Joe did
Joe Manchin did that, yeah.
And Earl Ray did it too. And that's what I do, try to keep contact with them. But we don't have a crisis. The governor.
Hold on. Some people would push back on that and say that we don't have a crisis, especially when it comes to the kids in our state with foster care, things of that nature. I mean, some people would probably push back on that a little.
Okay, you're right. Is there a solution on the table?
There's a lot of talk, but I don't know whether there's a lot of solutions, to be honest with you.
So, as a diversionary tactic, some people are going over here, well, let's pick on the gays or something like that. I mean, that's not. Did I say something wrong?
No.
But. Or let's do something social. Let's. I've been getting these texts from people that they're trying to get rid of the day after pill.
Yeah, because there are, West Virginia has passed a just about it as one of the more restrictive laws on abortion, and that was passed a couple of years ago, and so now. There I don't know that it got a whole lot of traction, to be honest with you, but there were some things that they were trying to do, I think, to try to keep people from trying to order to be able to order those. But the biggest thing that I think, and I'm going to get into this maybe a little bit later on the show, has to do with vaccines. And West Virginia has had one of the better records on vaccines, and it's one of the few things, in my opinion, that West Virginia does. We don't get a lot of national press for positive things, okay? But we've got a pretty darn good record of vaccinating our kids, and it's back again. And I've got some notes here on it. I'll get to a little bit later on.
Are people trying to stop it?
Yeah, I mean it's back. It's back again. Let me quickly.
Yeah, let me just while you're doing that.
Yeah,
RFK Jr. and people are picking on him, but I remember 10 years ago. And 11, 12 years ago, when he was on Imus a lot.
He was.
And he was against every vaccine you ever heard of.
Yeah.
And he and Deidre Imus were always, it causes autism. Nobody should take any vaccines. And I'm surprised MSNBC or somebody didn't look up some of his old shows because he's
changed a little bit. I mean, he even talked about, because we had this situation, and we got to go to break, but we had this situation in Texas where there's been a measles outbreak, and there's actually been, I think there's been two children that have died, and he's come out and said in that situation that they should be vaccinated. But what I think is interesting about RFK becoming the darling of the Republican Party, do people forget where he was 20 years ago on coal mining?
Yeah,
I mean, he was as far left as you can get when it came to things like coal mining.
His debate with Don up there at Don Blankenship up there at UC.
Yeah, I remember it. We're talking to former Charleston Mayor Danny Jones. We'll continue the conversation in a moment. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Meeks Rental and Leasing. If you're a landlord looking for reliable property transfer or property management, I should say, or a tenant looking for a well-maintained place to live, they can help. Visit meeksrentals.com. You want to weigh in with the mayor? Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony Taylor text 304-935-5008. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses care for your family.
Working full-time but ready to take the next step in your career? Bridge Valley's stackable credentials allow you to take classes, get certified, and build toward a degree, all without leaving the workplace. Get certification in QuickBooks, Lean Six Sigma, and more. Keep earning while you learn. And you may be eligible to go tuition-free with West Virginia Invests. Flexible, affordable, and 100% online. Bridge Valley, stackable credentials for career growth. Enroll today.
Life is full of challenges. Finding out your teenage daughter got a full-arm tattoo, or your next-door neighbor took up the drums. One challenge you shouldn't face, being delinquent with your property taxes. The Kanawha County Sheriff's Department reminds you that the deadline is May 1st. After May 1st, you'll pay penalties and pay to have your name published in a big newspaper ad, so everyone will know. Talk about a challenge. Go online to kanawhasheriff.us before May 1st and pay your taxes. kanawhasheriff.us.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
9:23, the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, presented in part by your hometown baseball team, the Charleston Dirty Birds. Great season of Dirty Birds baseball coming up at Gomart Ballpark. Check out their Facebook page or visit dirtybirdsbaseball.com. Former Charleston Mayor Danny Jones is with us today. Bigly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony Taylor text 304-935-5008.
Now, they've been there 20 years.
What's that?
They've been there 20 years.
20 years, yeah. I just had a conversation with Jill of the Dirty Birds not long ago, and they are planning. Well, the mayor, current mayor Amy Goodwin, was on the show yesterday, and they are, I think, planning some things this summer over at the ballpark to kind of celebrate their 20 years. Big story came out of the city council meeting last night. They're putting some more netting up there to keep people from getting hit with baseballs, because that can be a problem there. I don't mean to laugh about it, but I mean...
No. It was real bad when we first opened.
I saw I
used to work there, by the way.
I was attending a high school baseball state tournament game a couple of years ago, and there was a lady, sadly, and she wasn't killed, but she was recovering from heart surgery, and she got nailed right in the chest with a baseball, with a foul ball. So she, thankfully it was okay. Now, about the vaccines, Brad has got the story posted at WVMetroNews.com. A majority of the Senate Health Committee voted yesterday to insert the provisions for vaccine exemptions into a different piece of legislation. Now, the vaccination exemption bill was voted down this past month. It's all complicated, and I'm not a molecular biologist, but Brad does a good job of trying to go all Marcus Welby and explaining it this morning. We did get one of the best quotes of the session, that coming from Marion County Democratic Senator Joey Garcia, who said, "There's a saying, Danny, possums run at midnight, and we're getting to midnight, the midnight hour of the legislative session course." Now,
so Joey was for it.
Well, no, he's just saying. I mean, no, he's not. No, he's not.
Possums run at night. That was Clyde C.
Yeah, that I thought that was somebody.
It was Clyde
like that.
C. Yeah. Mark Carmen will tell you that.
All right,
it was Clyde C.
So that's where we are there. So let me ask you about the state of the Democratic Party in the nation as a whole. I saw Governor Gavin Newsom of California being interviewed on Bill Maher. And I'm a big, people know.
I watch it every Friday.
I'm a big Bill Maher fan.
I watch the same interview.
And we can talk about how much crap that he's getting now because he went down and had dinner with the president. I'll get into that at some other point later. But in interviewing Gavin Newsom, Bill Maher, I think, brought up some really, really good questions for him. It's like, you folks don't realize why you lost in the first place. And a lot of it has to do with the extremes. Now, the same could be said for the Republicans, that many Republicans, especially in West Virginia, have gone full on right. Is there any hope, in your opinion, Danny, for the Democrats to ever get a return to the center? Because I don't think Gavin Newsom has a chance of being elected president simply because he's from California.
No, he's got a chance. But are you talking about in West Virginia,
or in the country? Or the nation? West Virginia nation.
Not in my lifetime in West Virginia, but they could get their gift is Trump. Because if he does poorly, they'll be back in the saddle. But
it's going to take a whole lot of people, Danny, to have to want to turn against what Donald Trump has done.
You keep watching the stock market go down.
Let me speak to just West Virginia.
Okay.
I don't see anything that Donald Trump does eroding his base in West Virginia at all.
I'd agree with that.
Okay, but on the national level, you think that's a possibility?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in the midterms.
Yeah, that's going to be the test, and to to see if, and, you know, we got to find out about these tariffs. Well, where are we finally going to land on all this? I mean, is the stock market going to be down to 25,000? I mean, you don't know. I mean, I've lost a lot of money, David.
As has everybody.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And even though most of my money is gone, I'm still losing. And I'm not saying any of it's a bad idea. I don't know what he knows.
But why is it that nearly every economist, regardless of their political party, political persuasion, whatever, why is it that nearly every economist is coming out saying this is a bad idea, what he's doing? Because, I mean, can they all be wrong?
No, in 1805, when Jefferson was sworn in, he used tariffs because that's all they had. And tariff funded the federal government. Then you had McKinley. He used tariffs. But during the Depression, I think it's about 1930, they passed something called Smoot-Hawley. And that was tariffs. And it was a disaster. So I like to see us take state by or company by company or business by business. This thing about blanking the whole world with tariffs seems a little overdone to me. And why would we pick a fight with Canada? Yeah. What have they ever done to us? I mean, and maybe somebody can call in and tell me. I'll listen. I mean, do they put tariffs on our milk? I heard they did. So
I'm not sure.
So I don't know. I mean, but I'm not a fan of these tariffs yet. I could be convinced. Now, as far as DOGE is concerned, they're going from the bottom up. I think they ought to come from the top down.
Okay. Explain that.
I think the president he's never made an address to the nation that I can remember. And he ought to make an address to the nation and have some charts behind him and talk about, David, you're in your 50s. There's not going to be Social Security for you.
No, I don't anticipate Social Security.
I mean, you'll have some and Medicare, and we should hit that. And what you do is you put together a presidential commission with some really good people on it, Democrats, but people like, I don't know, put Jamie Dimon on it, Buffett if he'd serve, Larry Summers, Stephen Ratner, Obama's car guy. He's really smart. And just have 5 or 6 people on there and say, tell us what we're dealing with here. And if you can, give us a solution, or give us solutions, a variety of solutions to choose from.
Talking to former Charleston Mayor Danny Jones, the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Hudson's Pizza. Get a large 18-inch pepperoni pizza and a large tossed salad, $21.99. Eat in, pick up, or get delivery by going to Hudson'sPizza.com. Text says, give me a break what the Democrats went too left. Republicans want a sex abuser who pushes authoritarianism. He pardoned criminals who assaulted police and praises political violence. This is the extreme. This country and state suck.
I think that sexual charge will be thrown out, as I do think also the one against his company. And I think all that stuff's going to be thrown out by the time it gets all the way up there.
Text says, Dave, great to hear Danny Jones on the program this morning, a man with common sense and a lot of historical information. Hoping you have him back again soon. Absolutely, absolutely. And Danny's always welcome here. Text says, just showing up as governor is a pretty low bar. Good thing Morrissey's short. That's a texter. I didn't say that. That was a texter that said that. So what do you think about going back to RFK for a moment? You know, he's in Martinsburg a couple of Fridays ago and
makes fun of the governor.
Makes fun of the governor. Governor says it was all in good fun. We had the governor on the Metro News Midday Show. He said he wasn't offended in the least. And as I said, you don't know what their discussions were like backstage.
I was offended.
Kennedy could have so was Hoppy. Hoppy did a big commentary about that. So I mean, he could have very easily have said, look, I'm going to bring this up, are you okay with it? And Governor Morrissey could have said, yes, you don't know, but you say you were offended by it.
I was absolutely offended by it. The person's size, it's not something, their height, there's not anything you can do about that.
Well, I think he's talking more about his weight than his height.
Well,
and again, I'm not throwing stones. I got a little too much around the middle myself.
I've lost over 40 pounds, but okay, Patrick, maybe don't do it in front of people. I don't know. That's me. But Patrick ought to lose some weight then, quite frankly, the governor, just for his own health.
Text says, tell Danny he did not lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was just numbers on paper, not a tangible item. Stock market up 1,400 right now.
Fair enough. That's true. But if it doesn't go up and I have to take money out of there to put my son through VMI, I'm going to have to sell some stock at a lower price as it would have been. So that would be that wouldn't be more than a paper loss. It'd be a cash loss. I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope the president's right about this. But as far as, Doge is not doing anything. They gave a real good interview to Brett Baer, and they had some of their people in there. These are some really sharp people. But they don't. Fox News isn't the only station on the channel. I mean, they really ought to don't invite Stephanopoulos, but you could invite some other journalists in there to make a presentation.
What do you think of Elon Musk's influence on the White House so far with this Doge thing?
I think it's okay with me. One of the smartest guys in the world. I don't have any problem with it. He's just he's working for the federal government. He's just not getting paid.
Dex says, Dave, love hearing Danny, but one thing he said, if he was strictly referring to the stock market, he has tons of losses. Well, you don't lose unless you sell.
I understand that. You're right. So, as you were, but it's scaring people, and it's scaring me. So,
Dex says, Dave, what do both you and Danny think about the extinction of the dire wolf that died out nearly 13,000 years ago, and to discover that the CIA has invested almost $200 million of taxpayer dollars to Colossal Biosciences, a company aiming to bring back the woolly mammoth and other extinct species through a CIA-affiliated venture capital firm called QTEL with the goal of developing genetic engineering technologies. The woolly mammoth work started in 2022. Now this has happened. Stop trying to be God.
Okay.
That's a new one to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Text says, leave it to Danny to act as an apologist for a sex abuser and ignore the political violence in his party. Yes, I know he pretends to be an independent, but Danny is a Republican who also fancies petty grievances and political threats. Do you fancy, sir, petty grievances and political threats?
No, I'm not a Republican, and I haven't voted for a Republican for president since Mitt Romney, and I've never voted for a Democrat for president. So if you want me to vote for a Democrat for president, nominate Governor Josh Shapiro. I'll vote for him.
What do you think? I'm going to ask you about Shapiro and John Fetterman, either one. What do you think about John Fetterman?
Well, I think he's interesting, and he's a pleasant distraction.
He's entertaining, if nothing else.
He's a pleasant distraction, and he can't, the guy has trouble. He can't hear, and you have to ask him stuff, and he has to read off your question. Mm-hmm. I like him. I mean, I think he's a pleasant distraction to the whole political scene. But Josh Shapiro is a very serious man. I think he'd be a fine president, and he's a Democrat. Now, I've never voted for one, not for president. Voted for a lot of local ones. But
I wanted to ask you, too, about, and I kind of referenced this earlier, we have gotten to this place in the country where, and people on the local show have heard me talk about this a lot, where we're not supposed to engage with the quote-unquote other side. We can't sit down with them. We can't talk with them. And Bill Maher, who I mentioned earlier, Bill Maher was off the show this past week, but he's taken all kinds of crap because he went down to Mar-a-Lago and was supposed to have had dinner with Trump. Now, he'll be back on this week. I'm sure he'll want to talk about it. And the far left, of which Bill Maher was a part of for years, but he's kind of stood up against them, saying you people are insane on a lot of these things. But have we gotten to the point, Danny, that we can't simply sit down and break bread with the other side? That you can't play? I mean, I caught all kinds of grief on the show for having Don Blankenship on the show. Don Blankenship is one of the most interesting people I have ever. He's been on the show 3 or 4 times, and every time he's on, I get somebody that texts or calls out front or whatever and says, I'm never going to listen. I can't believe you platform him. There's a thing in this country, Danny, called free speach.
Yeah, and he's a friend of mine, a friend of yours. I like him. I like the guy.
Doesn't mean I agree with him on everything, but
you don't have to. You don't agree with me on everything.
But we've gotten to this point where we can't do this anymore. We cannot. You are seen as a sellout if Bill Maher goes and has dinner with Donald Trump, or I have somebody from the far left or far right on the show or whatever, and we're not blood enemies, man. I mean, where did we get to this point?
The little time I spent in the legislature, that was part of the fun of it. You find yourself a Democrat because there are only 20 of us, and you could only get 2 names on a bill, and they wouldn't pass a bill with just 1 Republican name or 2 Republican names. John Overton couldn't get his name on a bill. So I found myself a Democrat and put his name on the bill with mine, and my second year I got 2 bills passed. And since you could only put 2 people on there, that's not bad. Couldn't get any passed the first year, but you're effective in the amendment stage. But no, I don't believe it. Well, to answer your question, yes, we have found that time. I don't think it's that way up here, though, is it? Is it that way?
Well, I mean, look, I have on the no, I don't think it's as bad here because I frequently will have Republicans and Democrats on this show that work together, and the majority of things have to have bipartisan support, even with the Republican supermajority. And I've had people as far to the left as Kayla Young and Mike Pushkin, and as far to the right as say a Mike Stewart or whatever, who will come on this show and say, "Look, we work together. We have to work together."
Pushkin tells me he works with a lot of Republicans.
I mean, yeah, and that stuff just doesn't always get the attention. You're right. Texas Dow was 37,300 a year ago. Nobody has lost anything yet. Tex says, believe me, Danny, Elon is getting paid, and it's a conflict of interest. You can't agree with that.
Not necessarily. What do you mean? Because of SpaceX?
I'm presuming, yeah.
Well, he's the only one that's got it, and he bought those 2 people down out of outer space. I'm lost. I think it's a good idea.
We'll try to find our path back in a matter of moments. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you by Live Healthy West Virginia, presented by WVU Medicine. Great resource. Check out the latest episodes, WVMetronews.com, to the podcast menu, and start your journey towards better health today. Biggly Piggly Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Tony the Taylor text 304-935-5008. Danny has got something that he is very interested in as it pertains to President Reagan.
And about this video I'm watching, which ties into it. I'm watching this thing on Prime. I want to share it with people.
All right. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses have been creating jobs in West Virginia since 1997.
Poca Valley Bank has a new name. We are now simply Poca Valley, and here is why we're changing. Our place in the community goes beyond banking. While we still provide the finest in banking services, we also bring excellence in wealth management and financial planning, accounting, and bookkeeping services. Whether you're planning for the future or managing today, we offer the expertise you need. With 8 convenient locations, we're here to help you thrive. Discover the difference at Poca Valley. Relationships matter. Member FDIC.
The free Metro News TV app is the place to watch The Voice of West Virginia. See Talkline with Dave and TJ, Sportsline with Tony Caridi, Three Guys Before the Game, and coming soon the Morning News, Metro News Middays, and Hotline with Dave Weekly right on your smart TV or streaming device. Get the Metro News Television app from the Apple App Store or Google Marketplace. Metro News Television is powered by the University of Charleston, the West Virginia Department of Tourism, Dan Cabot Toyota, the WVHTC Foundation, and WVU Medicine.
All law firms are not the same. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Office 222 Capitol Street, Charleston. Cases will be handled by West Virginia licensed attorneys. The attorney in this ad is not licensed in West Virginia. ForThePeople.com.
I'm Doug Leach, founder and CEO of Ascension Recovery Services. We've done a number of projects with Jarrett Construction. Finding people that really care about what they do and care about what we do is pretty unique. In Jarrett Construction, they care. They're really, really good people. Good people do the right thing, and they're very skilled. They have all the qualities that make up just a perfect construction partner, and they just build us a phenomenal building.
Right on time, right on budget. Call on Jarrett Construction.
The Husson's April Special is a large 18-inch pepperoni pizza and a large tossed salad for just $21.99. Visit your nearest Husson's for dine-in, pickup, or delivery. Order now at HussonsPizza.com.
19 minutes in front of 10. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you by Bridge Valley, offering custom tailored training to supply skilled graduates and apprenticeships for your company. Visit bridgevalley.edu. Text says, Dave, 70 countries have already called President Trump and want to negotiate tariffs being charged to our country. This will take some time, but is heading in the right direction.
Okay, good enough.
Text says, why is it Danny providing excuses for the far left, only for sex abusers and criminals in the GOP?
Well, those cases aren't going to last, folks. I'm just telling you. They're going to be thrown out on appeal.
Text says, Bill Maher went to the White House. He gave millions to Democrats, but was never invited to the White House until Trump. I thought he went to Mar-a-Lago. In the texter, maybe
he
right
went
about
to the White House.
Oh, okay.
He wouldn't go to Mar-a-Lago. He said that.
Okay, I must have somehow missed that.
He and I'm trying to think, it was Neil Tyson, the astrophysicist. He said, I'd go to the White House. I'm not going to Mar-a-Lago.
Okay, all right. I was wrong about that. Text says, I love jousting with my Republican buddy at work. It was fun. Those days are gone, and I ask why.
Yeah.
Text says, Dave, I think you misunderstand what free speech is. Technically, it's protection from the government punishing someone for what they say against the government. Yes, you're allowed to say what you want and have whoever on your show, but there will be negative feedback, and that's okay. Yeah, it doesn't provide, safety from consequences. I 100% agree with that. Dex says the stock market's getting pumped up over speculation on tariff deals. Now, Trump has pressure to get deals done or the market will go back down. Not a good negotiating position considering other countries can say, okay, no deal. Watch his presidency flounder.
Yeah, but that hurts them too. I mean, trade helps everybody. Anyway. So I'm watching this thing on Amazon Prime. I'm going to recommend to people.
Okay.
It's called The Kings.
Okay.
And it's about 4 boxers in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and Roberto Duran.
Okay.
And the whole theory behind it is they were dance partners. They had it's because of each other that they made the big money.
And that was a golden time for boxing. It really was.
And Hagler could not get Leonard to go in the ring, and then he quit. And I haven't gotten to this part yet, but I know why he went back in the ring. He saw him fight John the Beast Mugabe.
Okay, I remember that.
And he says, I could tell he was starting to slide, so he waited. He was younger than Hagler, so he waited till he started to slide. Now, during this, they feature Reagan a lot for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, Sugar Ray and him are friends, or were. And they had, because Duran's from Panama, mm-hmm. they were featuring Omar Torrijos. And they were talking about the Panama Canal. And I've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
And this divided the conservative community. But Ronald Reagan had a position, and we're going to hear that position.
Go ahead, Rand.
The Panama Canal Zone is sovereign United States territory, just as much as Alaska is, as well as the states carved from the Louisiana Purchase. We bought it, we paid for it, and General Torrijos should be told we're going to keep it.
Now, Torrijos was a gangster. They had an elected governor over there, elected president over there, and he overthrew it, and he was basically a dictator. He was a popular dictator, but he was a dictator. He died in 1981, died prematurely. But he said, by the way, it divided the conservative community because Buckley was all in favor of letting them have it.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to have these debates that didn't have anybody on it but conservatives. And Buckley versus Reagan. Pat Buchanan said we ought to keep it. I mean, all these Republicans fighting each other over it. And as I said on the show once before, because Senator Randolph was running against Arch, he waited and he passed the first time they came by him. And then he realized they had enough votes, 68 instead of 67, so he could vote against it. And so he didn't want that used against him in the election because in this state we wanted to keep it.
Right.
So,
talking to former Charleston Mayor Danny Jones, Texas Dave, please have Danny back on a regular basis, enjoying his views and comments.
Watch The Kings if you like boxing. I love boxing. I love the individual effort. I like the fact that so many people came out of poor neighborhoods to become rich because they were boxers. Sugar Ray Leonard said in D.C., the tourists would come there, and we knew they didn't eat all their hamburger. So they would throw them away, and Sugar Ray and his friends would be in the trash can getting what's left of the hamburger.
Text says, enjoying Danny's commentary. God bless Ronald Reagan, the greatest president since Abraham Lincoln.
I don't know about that, but he was a great leader. He was a things were a lot of fun then.
Yeah, and if you go back, and I'm a big Reagan guy, you go back and you look at the first term of Reagan, there was a marked difference between the first term of Reagan and the second. I mean, I feel, and I was a teenager then, if you look at Ronald Reagan in, let's say, 1987, when Iran-Contra was going on, compared to Ronald Reagan of 81 or 82, there's a marked difference. And they talked about Biden with the decline. I think most people would think Reagan had that too.
I'll tell you one thing that happened. James Baker, who was Reagan's chief of staff, traded jobs with Donald Reagan in the Treasury Department. That was a big mistake. And Reagan, they had to fire Reagan, and it was the first lady that fired him.
Yeah.
He wouldn't take her phone call. You're gone. So then he put Howard Baker in there. And Howard Baker said, you got to straighten this Iran-Contra thing out. I mean, he was telling some truth, but not all the truth. Right. And so they got to straighten out. And I loved Howard Baker. He was a good man.
Vaccines are your best protection against severe disease from flu and COVID-19. If you're 65 or older, risk less, do more with this season's vaccines. Get started at vaccines.gov, paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. I want to bring this up before we go to break. I am a person who does not watch a lot of television. What I do, it's almost always documentaries because I'm the most exciting individual that ever lived. I said tongue in cheek, but I watch a lot of sports documentaries, political documentaries. But one of the things I love watching is I'm a big Johnny Carson fan. I mean, I grew up watching Carson, and I'm a Letterman fan too, but I like Carson. And one of the local channels, the Antenna or MeTV or somebody like that, shows Carson every night at 10 o'clock. Now, I'm also old, so I go to bed way before 10 o'clock, but I record it, and I watch back some on the weekend. This past weekend, I was watching an episode.
What's the name of the station?
It's Antenna. I think it's Antenna TV.
Do I have it on cable?
I mean, I've got it on. I have Optimum. I have it on Optimum.
Okay.
But they show Carson every night at 10 o'clock, and I'll record him. And I don't always watch the whole show, but I do go back and watch a lot of the monologues, or maybe some of the comedy. But Mighty Carson Art Players and whatever. But last week, or one of the shows from last week, it was from 1992. And it was a month or so before Carson hung it up. He had Burt Reynolds on the show. Burt was my hero growing up, as he was to every kid in the 1970s, pretty much. And I was watching the monologue, and the biggest battle that the biggest controversy at the time was over the budget and the House bank. And of course, they were talking about the 92 election. Well, this was 1992, and they were talking about the election. And I told my wife, and we were watching this, I said, imagine, look at how much things have changed since that time. Carson's monologue was all about what we would see today as boring stuff. We weren't talking about things like January 6th from a couple of years ago. We weren't talking about Doge. We weren't talking. The biggest disagreements we had were over budgetary things and things of that nature. How things have changed.
Yeah, and Carson was he was a Democrat, but I think he was friendly with Reagan. I'm not sure he's a supporter, but I think he was friendly with him. And Don Rickles was a Democrat, but he loved the Reagans and the Bushes.
Yeah, Sinatra, too.
Well, Sinatra's the one that made them all come out. When Reagan got sworn in, they had all that entertainment. Sinatra put it all together, and he pulled every marker to get all those people involved to provide all that entertainment for that ceremony.
The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live brought to you by Pinnacle Consultants. Pinnacle offers a 4-phase assessment for your property's inspection, sampling, and analysis, comprehensive reporting, and management planning. Visit pinnaclecorp.net because what you don't know can hurt you. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses are small businesses with big impact, including Generations Physical Therapy and Snap Fitness.
My hospital stay would have cost $25,000, but with VA healthcare, it's free.
My education would have cost $42,000, but with VA benefits, my books, tuition, and housing are all covered.
The down payment for my home would have been $74,000, but with my VA home loan, my down payment was $0. My service was then. My benefits are now. Get what you earned. Visit choose.va.gov.
Not all veterans are eligible for the type or amount of benefits mentioned here.
Running a business is a challenge. Keeping up with the latest skills doesn't have to be. At Bridge Valley, you and your team can take one class and gain certifications like QuickBooks, Lean Six Sigma, and more. You can even stack those credentials toward a degree. And you may be eligible to go tuition-free with West Virginia Invests. Keep your business running smoothly while your team grows. Flexible, affordable, and 100% online. Bridge Valley, stackable credentials for career growth. Enroll today.
Life is full of challenges. Finding out your teenage daughter got a full-arm tattoo, or your next-door neighbor took up the drums. One challenge you shouldn't face, being delinquent with your property taxes. The Kanawha County Sheriff's Department reminds you that the deadline is May 1st. After May 1st, you'll pay penalties and pay to have your name published in a big newspaper ad, so everyone will know. Talk about a challenge. Call 304-357-0210 before May 1st and pay your taxes. 304-357-0210.
Join the 9th annual Race to End Racism on April 26th at 9 a.m. Sponsored by TC Energy, Toyota, and Huntington National Bank. YWCA Charleston invites you to join the pre-race to end racism events. On April 8th at 6:30 p.m., join us for a fireside chat with YWCA Charleston's newly appointed CEO, Sonia Harrison. Learn more about the YWCA's promising future and gain firsthand knowledge of her vision, leadership, and dedication to advancing the organization. All events will take place at 412 Elizabeth Street, Charleston. Sign up today at ywcacharleston.org/race.
7 minutes away from 10. Welcome back to the show. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you part by Snap Fitness, with a wide selection of equipment, including free weights, cardio, machine weights, and more. 5 convenient locations: Charleston, Hurricane, Winfield, Barbersville, and Milton. Visit snapfitness.com. Text says, Danny boy, just admit you don't care that your sex abuser pardoned January 6 criminals and praised them as political prisoners. You can't fix your lips to make one cross point about this. What a brave independent. I wasn't going to read that, but you told me to.
Well, I don't know what they mean. I mean, do I have to agree with you on everything? And look, I'm almost 75 years old, and my mental health means a lot to me. And I really don't want to be hating on anybody, including President Trump or anybody for that matter. I didn't vote for him. I don't care for him. But most of the people in this state do.
Yeah.
And I'm not out to make enemies. Yeah. And if you like President Trump, I'm fine with me. I don't think he should have pardoned those people. I don't think a lot of them should have gotten the amount of time they got. Enrique Cherrio getting 22 years is a little bit ridiculous to me. 5 would have been plenty. But I can't get all upset about that kind of stuff out of this president, because if you do, you'll be the one you're hurting.
It just seems to me like we've become so, everybody digs their heels in so much for their particular side. And sometimes, with all due respect to some of the folks that I encounter, not just on this show, but in life, I just want to say, walk outside, read a book,
get a life,
take a walk, just don't let this stuff consume you. And it's just as bad on the far left as it is on the far right.
And I'd rather just let well enough be alone. I'm not going to get all worked up about President Trump or any of that stuff. I vote for who I want to vote for. I voted the last 3 elections. I voted for the Libertarians, and I don't even know what their names are, except for Gary Johnson in 2016. And I was happy to be involved in that campaign.
All right, text says Iran-Contra was a hoax. Ollie North was a patriot. Text says Reagan brought the Soviet Union to its knees. He changed history forever.
Ollie North lied under oath.
All right. Text says Republicans sure do like their actor TV star president. It says a lot about how easy manipulated they can be through the media.
Who, Reagan?
I'm assuming, and Trump.
Well, I don't know about him, but Ronald Reagan, of course, I remember when he was selling borax soap, and I was 5 years old, but he was governor of California for 8 years. That's no easy job.
Yeah, exactly.
And he did a good job.
Text says, anyone notice how most presidents seem to age about 20 years during their terms, except Trump? He's handled everything with strife and fight. He's a businessman, so he's used to the stress, and he's talked about tariffs for over 35 years, and not one word has changed. Haters, get over it.
Yeah, I'm not a do what?
No, it's we'll get to them in a minute. Go ahead.
I'm not the hater. I'm not a fan of President Trump's, but I want
President Trump to succeed. And
Yes,
I wanted Barack Obama, and I wanted Bill Clinton, and I wanted every other, and Joe Biden to succeed, because when the presidents succeed, the country's better off for it. I'm kind of old school that way. I still like my country.
I'll tell you something that'll drive your listeners crazy, and I'll say this because my time on the show is just about over. I read Hunter Biden's book, and I listened to it, and it's really good. And he was really in bad shape.
Yeah.
He was out in California stumbling around, smoking crack every 20 minutes. He was in real bad shape.
Danny, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. Don't go away, though, because we're going to quickly go to the Capitol and check in with Mr. Wilson and Mr. Meadows. You guys have got a rough go of it, Dave, because you got to follow Danny Jones.
Well, you bring in the big guns, you get the crowd warmed up, they're ready to go. I like what you did there for us, Dave.
Hey,
Dave. Appreciate it.
My job is to be your opener. By the way, somebody did an interview on your show yesterday and thought they were talking to me. I'm not going to mention any things, Senator Rupee Phillips, who I grew up with, thought the whole time he was talking to me when he was talking to you.
Well, I got that feeling because at one point in the interview, he said something along the lines of, Dave, we both grew up in Logan County. And I went... Oh, he thinks I'm Alan.
Yeah.
How can I work this to my advantage right here?
It's all good. What do you guys got?
A couple of things. Senator Tom Takubo is going to join us as the vaccine exemption bill has been resurrected as an amendment to another bill that has nothing to do with vaccination.
Is he for
talk
that?
to him. No, not even
goodness.
close.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to him about that. And Senator Vince Deed's going to join us in the first hour from Greenbrier County. He took to the Senate floor and made remarks along the lines of, we've done nothing, guys, and we've got 5 days to do something. So we'll talk to him. And a little bit later on, Brad McElhenney at some point will stop by. Brad's kind of floating wherever we need him today. So things are happening contrary to popular belief here at the Capitol.
All right, boys, we'll be listening. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right. Good to talk to you guys.
All right. Metro News Midday coming up with Amanda Barron, 13 News, and Tonight Live anchor, and myself. We got a loaded-up show today. Secretary of State Chris Warner is going to join us. A voting fraud conviction in Cabell County. We're going to talk to the Secretary about that. State Treasurer Larry Pack is on the show today, and a cast of thousands, pretty much, with Amanda and me.
They don't have enough to do up there.
At the key, you started the show by saying that, and you still think they don't have enough to do. Well, go talk to Delegate Joe Parsons, your buddy here. He's up there.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
All right.
No, that's really pretty scary.
Danny, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Former Charleston Mayor Danny Jones, Ryan Nicholson was our producer. I'll be back to do it once again tomorrow. See you later today on Metro News Midday. Till then, have fun and love somebody.
WCHS AM, W243DRFM Charleston, and W283AQ Cross Lanes, a WVRC media station. We're proud to live here too.